It's 1:03 a.m. PDT. Why do I say PDT? Because we're on Pacific Daylight Time, not Pacific Standard Time. So it doesn't make sense to say Pacific Standard Time. In the US, with very few exceptions, we're on Daylight Saving Time, not Standard Time. Therefore, if you want to indicate East Coast Time, Central Time, Mountain Time, Pacific Time, and you want to be more specific, you should say Daylight Time, Pacific Daylight Saving Time, or Pacific Daylight Time, or just type PDT, MDT, CDT, EDT. If you're in Arizona, most parts of Arizona, I guess, you could technically say MST, because I think most of Arizona remains on Mountain Standard Time, which is the same as Pacific Daylight Time. So, I just wanted to come on live at 1:03 a.m. PDT. It's now 1:04 a.m. PDT. Yes, July 22nd, 2019. And promote some more people that I love. You should check out davidwu.com. No, davidwumusic.com. David Wu is my second cousin, and he produces music. It's not his day job, but he's an artist, and he does it well. So, again, the website is davidwumusic.com. That's D as in davidwumusic.com, A as in davidwoodmusic.com, V as in davidwoodmusic.com, I as in davidwoodmusic.com, D as in davidmusicmusic.com. I think that's pretty simple. Check out his stuff. He puts up original pieces on the piano. He's put up piano covers. He did a project several years ago called The Fringe Monks. There was a show from J.J. Abrams from Bad Robot Productions called Fringe. And what David would do was write a parody recap song. So if you think of like Weird Al meets the Chipmunks, kind of what he did. So for example, for the first episode of Fringe, he did a recap song parodying Miss American Pie. And in a way, he said it was a parody of a parody, because Weird Al Yankovic parodied Miss American Pie when he did The Saga Begins, which was a song about Star Wars: A Phantom Menace. So, he did a parody of a parody. And so he wrote a song about the first episode of Fringe to the tune of Miss American Pie. Miss American Pie, Miss American Pie. And then he sped up the vocals. He did it basically in the style of the Chipmunks, so that you couldn't hear his actual, like the sound of his actual voice. And I think, I'm not entirely sure, but I think he might have done recap songs for every episode from seasons 1 through 5. I know he was keeping up with it for a while. He did one for every episode of season 1, and I found that to be extremely helpful to listen to. What was cool is that you could actually fit the entire album onto one CD. And I remember listening to that CD in my car prior to the airing of season 2, and I found that listening to it actually reminded me things that happened in season 1 episodes. So I went in remembering things that I might have forgotten otherwise. So that was so cool. So I think you can actually still listen to the Fringe Monks on you go to davidwoomusic.com, again, that's D as in davidwoomusic.com, A as in davidwoodmusic.com, V as in davidwoodmusic.com, I as in davidwoodmusic.com, D as in davidwoodmusic.com. Yeah, I don't know if we actually finished every episode, but Fringe was an interesting show. A lot of people compared it to The X-Files, which I guess is it's kind of true. There was you had the FBI investigating fringe science phenomena, and then there was backstory that was slowly revealed. It starred Anna Torv, Joshua Jackson, is it John Noble, who played Denethor in The Two Towers, the Steward of Gondor, I believe. Yeah, it was an interesting show. It didn't do so well in the ratings. I think it got moved to Friday nights at one point. You know, the time slot of death. You know, it was on Fox, and I think in the fourth season there was some question of whether or not they would get a fifth season, and so I think Fox decided to give them one more season. And I don't know if they were. I don't know if how much money they made on that season. It was like a half a season, I think. 12, 13, 15 episodes. Or was it season 6? Shoot. Was it 6 seasons? No, I'm thinking of Lost, I think. I think Fringe only had 5 seasons. So I'm just kind of wondering if, I know obviously fans would have been upset if they decided to cancel the show before the producers had a chance to finish the storyline. But if it wasn't making enough money, you know, like if they were losing money, was it more of a PR thing? Were they kind of banking on um, being able to sell Blu-rays and DVDs later because maybe they wouldn't be able to sell as much because it wouldn't be a completed story? I kind of wonder. But what the producers ended up doing in the last season is accelerating the storyline. I think they jumped to several years in the future, and I think there was some in-between stuff that was said to have happened, and they completed it. It was pretty good. I think I was pretty satisfied overall, given what they had to work with in terms of you know having to finish the storyline pretty quickly. I would have liked at least, I think, one more full season. I think if they had be able to do 6 or 7 seasons, they could have fleshed out the story a little bit better. But overall, the tie up of the storylines I felt was actually pretty satisfying overall. You don't always get that. Um, I had mixed feelings about Lost. I remember watching it. I watched the season finale with friends, with a couple of my friends, and I remember after finishing after the finale of Lost, I was kind of thinking, man, I don't know how I feel about this. I think that's kind of unsatisfying. But then my friends were like, yeah, it's satisfying. And I'm just kind of one of those people sometimes I just don't like to disagree. It's like, oh, maybe I'm wrong. And I was like, yeah, maybe that's okay. But it's been a while since I haven't actually seen. I don't think I've watched through Lost again since it aired originally. So I don't know how I would feel going through it as a series again. I don't think it's available anywhere for streaming, is it? There's another J.J. Abrams television show. He wasn't actually. I mean, the thing is about these J.J. Abrams shows, the Bad Robot Productions, he's not really the showrunner, right? He's like an executive producer. He greenlights them, but you have other people that, run the day-to-day show, focuses on other things. I think he usually directs like the first episode, and I think somehow directing the first episode, I think that somehow gets him a lot of money later in the future too, somehow. Um, but yeah, I like a lot of the J.J. Abrams Bad Robot production television shows. I didn't enjoy Lost when it was on. I just don't know about the finale. Don't know what that last season. Um, I enjoyed Fringe, which I believe was the J.J. Abrams show that came after Lost. There was another one called Person of Interest. I like that. I think I also have mixed feelings about the ending, but I don't know how you would end that. I think they also got 5 seasons. I kind of wonder if they were forced to accelerate the story in some ways too, but I think they got 5 full seasons. I think just as a concept, like a regular episode is pretty interesting. But then the overall story arcs are pretty interesting as well, I think. So, Person of Interest, starring Jim Caviezel and I forget what that other guy's name is, but he was in Lost too. I think he played Ben in Lost. That kind of creepy guy, creepy in Lost. But yeah, it's not a bad show. There was some other J.J. Abrams shows um, that got canceled, I believe. Uh, there was a show called Alcatraz. I actually thought it was kind of interesting. It wasn't the concept wasn't that great, but I don't know. I thought it was kind of interesting. That got canceled. I think after one season, maybe not even a full season. There's another one called Undercovers. I thought that was pretty interesting. That was on CBS. I think Alcatraz was on Fox. Another one that was on NBC was Revolution. That's like the first one that I watched that I was like, yeah, I don't like this one. I tried to give it a chance, but I don't think I think I had 2 seasons. I don't think I ever watched the second season. I didn't even finish the first season. I don't remember why. I don't usually give up on shows, but at least not before. Some maybe now. I don't watch as much. Man, Revolution. I didn't like that one. Just could get into it. So that one I feel is probably rightly canceled. Um, what else? Oh, I think there was another one called. Is it Almost Human? I don't know if that was J.J. Abrams or not. I had intended to watch that one. I think I was hoping to just let a lot of episodes air and then kind of binge it. Um, and then that one got canceled. And it's funny, is because a friend from church and I seem to have a tendency to watch shows that get canceled. Um, so there was a show that was on Fox called Terra Nova, um, and I actually liked it. I thought it was kind of interesting. Um, I think a lot of people watched it just because it was going to be dinosaurs, and they thought they were going to see people riding on dinosaurs and whatnot, and it just ended up not being so much about the dinosaurs. And I remember hearing, people making fun of my friend for still watching Terra Nova when everyone else had given up on it, and then I decided to admit, and I was like, it's okay, I still watch it too, and I could understand. I mean, it was kind of hit and miss a little bit with the show, but I felt like they were kind of hinting at things that sounded interesting to me. So I kept watching it. And again, I wasn't that the kind of type of person to give up on shows. I try to give them a chance. Um, and frankly, I felt that the season ended with an interesting twist. I don't know if that's the right word. I don't even remember quite what happened, but I just remember thinking it was interesting. And I was disappointed that they didn't get to continue the storyline. Um, but so there was this kind of joke that both my friends and I like to watch, watch television shows that get canceled. I think there was one time in our fellowship group we were doing icebreakers, and we had to introduce ourselves, say our name, and say something. If those, what's something that what's an Olympic event that we would win the gold in? So I think he said that he would win. That I might give him a run for his money, but that he would probably win the gold medal in watching TV shows that get canceled. So I remember when I guess it was Almost Human. I think that's what it's called. Got canceled when they announced it. I went on his Facebook timeline and I said, "Oh man, you started watching this, didn't you?" Kind of the idea that because he likes to watch shows that get canceled and because he was watching it, that's why it got canceled. Um, and I think actually he was watching it, so that's funny. Yeah, I never saw that. I feel like I kind of want to see the episodes that were released. I don't know if they even if they're available anywhere. Another show that got canceled that I liked was Flash Forward. I haven't seen the episode since, but I remember thinking that was actually an interesting show. I know. I think that was. I forget. I think that was on ABC, and I think they were hoping to find another serialized high concept drama that would be the next Lost. And for me, I felt like it was kind of for me like the next Lost. I thought it was a really good show, but apparently not enough people did. I didn't know a whole lot of people that actually liked it personally. Um, my friend who likes canceled shows might have actually, but I think it was something that was more of a cult hit, I guess, in some ways. So that's it's kind of disappointing that they didn't get just to follow up in their storylines. Um, Another show that got canceled that was on CBS was called Threshold. I remember watching the first episode. This was around the time that Lost was on. Like, you had a lot of different shows. I think 'cause Lost was like the first um, in a long line of like serialized dramas that the networks were experimenting with, right? Like generally speaking, up to that point, uh, I think the network television preferred to show episodic shows so that people could just jump into the series anytime and not, the network didn't have to worry about someone watching an episode in the middle and then thinking, oh, I haven't been following this, so I'm not going to watch it. So a lot of shows were kind of what some people might call safe. And things just get tied up in the end and at the end of every episode, and they would reset, and there was no actual growth. And so Lost kind of broke that mold. It was really popular, and so I felt like everyone was trying to do that. So I remember seeing NBC came out with Surface. I don't even know how like that lasted a season, 2 seasons maybe. I don't even know if they finished that storyline. I didn't want to watch that. I wasn't interested. There was another show called Invasion, I think, that aired after Lost. I think that maybe got 1 season. I remember Supernatural came out, and I remember thinking, "Oh, this looks like another show that's trying to compete with Lost in some way." But maybe it wasn't. Um, and that show went on for a while. I never actually watched it. I think I watched the first episode, but I never kept up with it. But I know people seem to like it. Um, and then there was Threshold, and so I started watching it. I remember going through the first episode and thinking, I probably won't keep up with this. Um, I think probably there was a part of me that was thinking, just get out after the first episode. Otherwise, if I keep trying to watch it, then I'm just gonna want to see this thing through to the end. But I was watching it and I was thinking to myself, okay, I'll watch one episode and then probably not continue with it. It just didn't seem that interesting to me at first. And then I noticed that Brent Spiner was a character. Like he came in the middle of the pilot episode or whatever. I don't know if that's considered the pilot or not, but he came in the middle of the first episode. I was like, Brent Spiner, he played Data on The Next Generation. So, I hadn't really seen him in a series since The Next Generation, I think. He was in Independence Day. Didn't even realize that was him when I originally saw Independence Day. Um, I think the only reason I knew that was him in Independence Day eventually was that I saw him on one of those morning shows. I think it was called Fox After Breakfast, and he was promoting an album, and he had the long hair, and I was like, oh wait, that's the guy from Independence Day, the weird scientist with the long hair. Then I realized, oh yeah, that does kind of look like him. Then I realized Brent Spiner was in Independence Day, um, but I hadn't really seen him in any other TV shows. Certainly not in a starring role. I know he did a guest spot in one episode of Frasier. That might have been later though. So in Threshold, there he was as being brought on as a cast member, and actually, Peter Dinklage was another character in that show. That's the first time I'd seen him in anything. And then there was one other character. These guys were playing scientists, experts in their field, and the whole idea of Threshold was that you had this woman. I guess she worked for the government, and she came up with these protocols called the Threshold Protocols that were to be enacted in the event that um, there seemed to be an imminent alien incursion, so that the aliens were on the threshold of invading Earth. I guess is the idea. So you have the threshold protocols, and so then so I guess they had detected, they had to enact the protocols, they had to bring in the woman who enacted the protocols to head up a team. She brought in these these experts, they're not all scientists. Peter Dinklage, I think, he played a linguist, so I think that his goal was to interpret it, be able to interpret probably the alien language. Brent Spiner was some kind of like physicist or biologist. I'm not sure. And then there was another character. I can picture his face. I don't remember his who he was. I do remember that the character was supposed to be Christian, which I thought was interesting. Um, but anyway, once I saw that Brent Spiner was in, I was like, "Oh, I'm going to watch this. I got to watch this. I have to." Um, and I actually got into the series. It was actually pretty interesting. Um, and I think they only got like half a season before they got canceled. And I actually bought the DVD. I never actually finished the series, but I did buy the DVD sets recently. I would have preferred to get Blu-ray, but it wasn't popular enough to be released on Blu-ray, so DVD is enough. Um, I have to watch that again. It was actually the show was done by David S. Goyer, who wrote the scripts, I believe, for all of the Christopher Nolan Batmans. Um, and he ran the show with Brandon Braga. Brandon Braga is known for being a producer on Star Trek. I think he worked on The Next Generation um, and Voyager, and he was the showrunner for Star Trek Enterprise from seasons 1 through 3. Then I think Manny Kodo took over season 4. And he also co-wrote, Brandon Braga co-wrote, I think, both Star Trek Generations and Star Trek First Contact, which were the first 2 movies to feature the Next Generation cast. And he co-wrote that with Ronald D. Moore. Oh, that was my vocab impression. Ronald D. Moore is known as the guy who um, um, created the reboot version of Battlestar Galactica with, I guess, David Icke. So Brandon Braga and David S. Goyer, I think, were the showrunners or executive producers of Threshold, and I think I actually liked them as partners because they were actually both on Flash Forward as well. So I think together they make actually a pretty good team. David S. Goyer by himself, I don't think necessarily does a good job. No offense if he ever happens to watch this. But when he's partnered with somebody else, he produces really good work. I think like Batman Begins, The Dark Knight, Dark Knight Rises. Partnering with Christopher Nolan, he did a good job. Um, I'm trying to think of what else he's done like solo. Did he do Blade? I think he might have done Blade Trinity. That wasn't like great, right? I don't know if he did the first two Blades too. I think Blade 1 and 2 was decent. I haven't seen those in a while though. Um, I feel like there was something that he did though. I'm trying to remember that. I was like, you think, oh, David S. Goyer, but then it's like once you saw, like, I think he was like writer director, and then it just wasn't that great in my opinion. So, but when you partner him with somebody else, it seems like they didn't do a good job. I don't know if him and Brandon Braga did any other show. I feel like there might have been at least one other show that I thought was kind of interesting. But yeah, Threshold. I know there's a lot of people that kind of had a cult following too. I think that Brent Spiner gets questions about it being canceled, and apparently, I think it was Les Moonves, according to Brent Spiner, that got it canceled. I think maybe Abe was actually doing fairly well, and then he just happened to see it, and he was like, "What is this?" Um, because he doesn't really like sci-fi that much, so I think maybe he got it canceled. I'm not sure, but my understanding from what I've been told was that the show was actually supposed to change names with each year. So you had Threshold, and it was supposed to be called Foothold, and then after that, it's supposed to be called Stranglehold. And Brent Spiner would tell that, and he's always like he's a joker. So he told that he said it's supposed to be called Stranglehold in the third season. People laughed. He's like, no, seriously. The whole idea thing being that Threshold is the aliens are on the threshold um, of invading, and then Foothold they've gained a foothold in their invasion, right? And then Stranglehold, I guess they're in charge or something. But man, I'm so disappointed that didn't get seen through as a story. I mean, it could have been. You kind of wonder like how well they could have done if they were given the chance to complete the story. Same with Flash Forward. I mean, maybe they wouldn't have been able to. I mean, you see shows like Heroes. Heroes, the first season was great. Um, and personally, for me, like I know a lot of people didn't like Heroes after the first season. Um, and if I were to watch it again, maybe I would feel the same way. But Heroes, first, second, and then I think the first half of the third season, I really enjoyed. And then it was after that that I just stopped getting into it. And then I forget, I think they got 5 seasons total. And the thing was, it's like with the last season, I remember thinking, if they don't get renewed, I'm just not going to continue watching it. Again, you know, I try to at that time give shows a chance, but it was like I was like coming to a point where like, no, this is just wasting my time, and it's just not that good. And um, I think I realized I probably would also have the opportunity just to watch it later, like binge the show if I wanted to. Um, so it wasn't. I didn't necessarily feel like I was gonna regret not watching it later. But they ended up canceling it anyway, and so I was like, okay. Of course, they brought it back for another season. I never did end up watching. I was interested in watching it. I didn't end up watching it, and I think it got canceled. So I was like, that's probably a good idea. But man, definitely that first season of Heroes was really good. Again, and that was around the same time as like Lost was out. So you were getting the serialized dramas that people were getting into. So yeah, and now what am I following? I really like The Good Place. I think that's a good show. I think they're finishing up. I think the fourth season that should be coming up in the fall, or maybe it's going to be mid-season in January. I think that's supposed to be their last season, um, and it probably makes sense. I think it's good when shows finish when they should finish. Like Battlestar Galactica, if they wanted to, they could have gone for another season. It went 4 seasons. 4 seasons is not, I think, normal for a successful show, but it's just like when you finish the storyline, just finish the storyline, and I think that's good. So, yeah, and I really like Battlestar Galactica. I thought that was good. I need to watch that again. Funny thing was, is like when I watched the pilot, or not the pilot, but it was kind of a backdoor pilot. It was a miniseries, shown in 2003. And we were shown in two-hour episodes, um, 2 hours with commercials. And I remember at the time, I decided to watch it because it was one of those like sci-fi original movies. And usually, anything that was sci-fi original movie, sci-fi original television show, I mean, the Sci-Fi Channel would also show a lot of stuff that was previously shown on other channels before it was being rerun. So some of those were interesting, some of those weren't. But I had found that a lot of this sci-fi original stuff that they produce, I thought was kind of interesting. For example, I think there was a miniseries, I think, on the Bermuda Triangle. I didn't say anything to you on the Bermuda Triangle. It's not. It was a made-for-TV show. I think it's starring Eric Stoltz, Catherine Bell, one other guy that had been Australian. Um, but it was interesting. I liked it. I might not enjoy it as much now, but at the time, anything that was like sci-fi original production, usually I liked. So I remember watching Battlestar Galactica. Really knew nothing about the original series. I heard the name Battlestar Galactica before, I think on Curb Your Enthusiasm, and so I watched it, and I thought originally. Now, if you haven't seen it, it's gonna be spoilers. Um, I'll let you know when the spoilers come. Well, this is kind of a minor spoiler, so it's not really a spoiler. It's a if you know the concept, the premise of the show, then it's not a spoiler. But I thought that this was supposed to. I thought Battlestar Galactica was supposed to be taking place in Earth's future. Um, and then they had this whole thing where they had created artificial intelligence. They rose up and rebelled against them, and then there was a war, and they left. And I was like, well, this is just like some kind of another one of those, AI rises up kind of stories, and it's like just like another Terminator type knockoff. I thought. And so they had this whole thing with the war, and the colonies were attacked, and they were on the run, and there was just like a small remnant of the 12 colonies that were trying to survive at the end of the miniseries. Um, but the thing that actually got me interested was that at the very end, they were like, there was 12 colonies, right? And each colony was, I guess, sort of a tribe. So each, each, I think you had each colony was on a different planet, and then supposedly there was a 13th tribe, and they had, I think the, the 13th tribe was almost legendary, where I think some people maybe, I believe, it wasn't even certain if they were real. I'm not sure if I'm getting that right or not. But at the end of the series, the miniseries, you had the military admiral who was in charge, saying, "We're going to look for this 13th tribe. We know about them. We know where they are, um, and they had settled on Earth." It's like, oh wait, what Earth? I think that's what he said. Or were they called Earth? No, I don't know. I think they said they went to Earth. That's where the 13th colony had settled, and it's probably, I guess, far away, and they weren't connected to the 13th colony wasn't connected to them anymore. Blah blah blah, and so I was just like, oh, wait a minute. So the 13th colony is Earth. So how does that fit in? So this is not. These are not part of. This is not. Earth is not part of this future. And if you watch the original show, there was this, you watch the intro to each show. They said, what if man didn't originate on Earth, but he actually came from outer space, and um, I think so. The original premise of Battlestar Galactica was that um, you had this human civilization in space that actually predates humanity on Earth, and they're the ones that actually came to Earth and built the pyramids and all that kind of stuff. Um, so the reboot was this. The whole idea was, okay, they got attacked by the Cylons. They were just a small ragtag group of colonists. The majority of them had been wiped out, and they were going to go look for Earth. That was going to be their mission, their goal. The captain didn't actually know, and the Admiral Dama didn't actually know anything about the location of Earth. But he was going to use that to search for Earth as um, a beacon of hope for the civilization. And so that's what got me hooked. That idea. I was like, oh, they're gonna look for Earth. And so I ended up watching the series. First, I think 1 or 2 episodes, I was like, I don't know, because the series ended up starting in 2004, so a year later. I think the miniseries had done well enough that they got picked up for the series. So when I heard Battlestar Galactica was coming back, I was like, oh, it's just going to be another miniseries. It's like, oh no, this is actually an actual series. So I ended up watching it. I think by the third episode, though, I was like, oh, this is actually interesting, and I think, um, I was hooked. I was hooked after that, and to be honest, I really like this series from not beginning, obviously, but once I got into it, I liked it to the end, and I was pretty satisfied with the ending personally. Um, I know a lot of people didn't like it, but it was all about the characters, and I think there were some things where it seemed like they were leading somewhere, and then it just kind of that plot fell flat, and then they just focused on finishing the story for just the character arcs. And I can understand how some people might be um, disappointed with that, but I was actually pretty satisfied with it. I need to watch it again, but then they had a spin-off, prequel spin-off type show called Caprica. Caprica is one of the planets in the colonies. They're like the main planet, I think. Adama was from there. It was a prequel. I think I think you had Adama as a kid in Caprica, or was it his father was a kid? I think maybe he was a kid. Admiral Adama was a kid, and his father was this criminal. Um, and Eric Stoltz. Talking about Eric Stoltz, he was on the show too. I could not get into it. I don't know. It just wasn't the same, and actually Ronald D. Moore wasn't even um, as involved with this. Like, he was the executive producer. I think he conceived with it. He conceived of it. I believe it was Jane Espenson, who had worked on Firefly, who ended up being like the day-to-day showrunner. And I think maybe it just her vision of it probably just didn't resonate as much with me, and I guess not as much with a lot of people. Um, so it got canceled. And I've always been meaning to go back and finish that first season. It was on Netflix for a while. I think I could never just finish it because it's kind of interesting, but it's just like I was never like when I had time to watch another episode, I just wasn't feeling it, and then I ended up dropping off, and now it's not even available. It wasn't even sold on Blu-ray in the U.S. Like, I think you can get it in Canada, but it's just, I don't. I would probably get it like if it was really cheap and available in the U.S. I mean, I might even get the Canada version, but I think that would be. I think it's expensive to actually import stuff from Canada. So, but just to have it as part of my collection, because to complete my Battlestar Galactica collection, I'd probably get it. Um, maybe it's a cheap, inexpensive copy on eBay. Yeah, that might be worth looking to. Because if that's the only copy I can get is the Canadian version, the Canadian release, then why not, right? Maybe actually finish the series. I wonder if that includes because I think they also had a miniseries. Did I ever buy that? No, I don't think I bought it. I feel almost like I might have bought it, but I don't think so. I don't even know that was available. Actually, I think what I did do was I bought the miniseries of Battlestar Galactica and then bought the series, which I think was a mistake because I think the miniseries was actually on the season 1 season set. So I didn't need to actually buy both. So I ended up selling the DVDs anyway because I got it on Blu-ray. Fringe on Blu-ray too. Never did get Lost on Blu-ray. I feel like I don't know. I think you can get that with the at least at one point you could get that with the Disney movie rewards. And I have a lot of rewards because I didn't redeem, don't usually redeem them. Um, Partly because there's just not a lot of stuff that you can use your Disney movie rewards to redeem that I'm interested in. If anything, I would use it to redeem DVDs or Blu-rays. Um, but the thing is, with when I buy, if you watch the stream yesterday, the day before, I don't know, the other day, I had mentioned that I have liked to get Blu-rays that include the slipcover, and I don't do that as much anymore, just because it's not very cost effective. Cost effective, it just I can't really afford it, because if you want the slipcover, you have to buy the Blu-ray when it's like released, and that means you have to pay release date prices, which can be okay. I mean, but if you wait long enough, it will go down. But then you're likely not to get it with a slipcover. So for Disney releases, um, I like to get it with a slipcover because I think it looks better. It matches my collection. So I did buy the Many Adventures of Winnie the Pooh on Blu-ray, and it came without a slipcover, and I was like, ah. So if I try to get any Blu-ray through the Disney store, there's a good chance it won't come with a slipcover, and I just don't deal with it generally. But Lost was available, I think, at one point, and I think I hesitated to get it because I was hoping that they would release a full series set as opposed to having to get separate seasons. I don't think they ever did that, or if they did, there was some kind of special edition that I didn't want to get that included a bunch of stuff. I don't know, um, but yeah, I think I was waiting for like a season or a full series set because that's what I got for Battlestar Galactica. Full series set. Same with Fringe. Full series set. Lost in Space. I don't know why I thought that. That was sort of an impulse buy. I kind of like. I do like classic sci-fi, and I like movies and shows that have cultural relevance. So I know Lost in Space has cultural relevance to American sci-fi. So I think it might have been cheap, so I think I just went for it and bought it. I still haven't actually watched those Blu-rays, but I haven't. Um, I've bought a lot of Blu-rays that I have not seen. Um, it was it was kind of bad for a while because I was just like, I'm a collector, and so for a good while, I would hear reviews that were good, so I would just buy it even though I hadn't seen it. Um, and but I've kind of stopped doing that as much. Um, Certain things I will buy even though I haven't seen it. Like for example, I bought Mission Impossible 6. Haven't seen that yet, but I've seen all the other ones and I have all the other ones. So it's sort of like completing a collection, and I know that Mission Impossible 6, did well critically and with I think critically and with audiences, and so it's like, yeah, I'm willing to take that risk. I think that's another one of those that I don't know if like if Mission Impossible 7 comes out. I don't know if I would try to get it with a slipcover or not, because I do have a slipcover for Mission Impossible 1 through 6, and it it could be just one of those things where I'm like, I want it to match, but I might just let that go. I might just let that go for Mission Impossible 7. I'm assuming there will be Mission Impossible 7. Why would they stop if the series, if the franchise is so popular and successful, right? Um, but yeah, so for Disney releases, I still get that Star Wars, Star Trek, Doctor Who, um, G Kid releases. Um, G Kid is a distribution studio. They release most of the Studio Ghibli um, movies, films in the U.S. Now they have the rights now. Disney had the rights for a while, and they also do release other films. I think international and domestic. I think it's mostly international films though that they release, um, and so those I still feel like I like to get the slipcovers. I don't know why. It's just something about them. They look good. I do like slip. I mean, if I could, I would get slipcovers for all my Blu-rays. But I'm learning. I've learned to let that go, just because. I mean, you wait long enough for a Blu-ray. Like if you're willing to wait, and oh, my Marvel movies also. The superhero movies, DC and Marvel, I will buy it. I want to get it with slipcovers. Those are the other ones I want to get with slipcovers. But if you wait long enough, you can actually get certain titles for pretty cheap. Um, you wait for Prime Day, you wait for Black Friday or whatever, or just wait a few years, and just randomly it will be like available for like $4.99, $7.99, depending on how popular Blu-ray is. So it's less than the price of a it's less than the price of a movie ticket. Generally, I don't know if there's any movie tickets that are $7.99. Except for those theaters where the cheap theaters where it's like it's already been out for a while, and so then they're just showing it, you know, um, before it comes out on just before it comes out on home video. They don't, do people say home video anymore? It comes out on Blu-ray. Um, so it's that's for the people that are willing to wait and watch it in movie theaters that aren't as quite as nice, but decent. So you pay like what, $4 for that. Um, yeah, but I bought a projector a while back. I'm trying to I need to set it up though. And have a 110-inch screen, so I kind of have a movie experience in my own home. So um, yeah, just let go of the slipcovers, needing slipcovers, and buy movies. That's the thing. See, you might pay like $15 for a ticket to see a movie that you've never seen before, right? You buy it just because it looks interesting. You go to the movie theater to experience it, and it's hit or miss, right? So it I know it seems kind of weird to buy Blu-ray that you haven't seen before, but if you think about it, I could I could buy it for cheaper than I pay for the movie ticket, and sure, I'm not watching it. I'm not getting the same experience with the really nice surround sound and the really big screen. Um, but I do have an old 5.1 surround sound system, 110-inch screen. It's not a bad experience. If I don't like it, I could always sell it, and I end up, spending less money than I would have going to the movie theater. I still like going to the movie theater. It's just, you really think about it. You just wait long enough, you could end up owning the movie, and if you like it, you can keep it and keep watching it over and over again, and you would have paid less. So, I mean, these movies, you just wait long enough, and they do get pretty cheap. Even TV shows. Um, you look at like the ones that the movies that get put into collections, right? Um, they can get pretty cheap. You have like a 7 movie franchise collection, and then they end up selling the whole like box set for $20 or something. Like, come on. You end up what you want to pay $17.99, $14.99, even $9.99 per movie. So that's what? That's $10 per movie. So you pay $70 if you want to buy all 7 movies, or pay $20 for the box set. Come on. So yeah, maybe once I set up my reorganize my movie room, I might take you guys on a tour, show you my setup. It's not that great. You go on YouTube and see some home theater setups, man. I envy those, but it's just nice to have a nice 110-inch screen. Do I have any water? Oh. And even though we have an old 5.1 surround sound system, which I think we bought in like 2003, I think actually whenever Alexa, when did Attack of the Clones come out?
The film Star Wars, Episode 2, Attack of the Clones was released about 17 years ago on May 16, 2002.
Okay, I think it was 2003 because I remember we got. So our surround sound system is also a DVD player, and I remember we bought it, and we had also purchased Attack of the Clones on DVD around the same time, and it wasn't working. We thought it was the DVD at first. Got a second DVD. We returned that. Got a second DVD. Still didn't work. So we had to return the unit, and it worked. It worked fine. So it was and I remember it was Attack of the Clones. So I felt like it was 2003. So that sounds about right. If Attack of the Clones came out in 2002 in theaters, then the DVD probably came out in 2003. Yeah, so it's an old system, but the thing is DVD audio is actually not as good as Blu-ray audio. So once we got Blu-ray and started playing Blu-ray, it's just like, oh, the sound is actually pretty good. Even though the system is kind of old, it's like at least it's better than just like an old a 2-channel stereo system. So you get the center channel, the front right and left channels, the rear left and right channels. I guess you call them the surround channels, and then you also get the subwoofer. And I mean, the sound in Blu-rays is actually really good. So it's having that, even though it's old system, is still adds to the experience. So I had an HD projector that I had set up for a while, and it was actually pretty decent. I was afraid. I remember when I bought it on Black Friday, and then it took me 2 years to actually set it up. And then I remember thinking, because I think 4K was available around that time, though there wasn't really a whole lot of 4K projectors. But I remember thinking, oh shoot, am I gonna regret this? Is it gonna? How is the 1080p gonna look on a 110-inch screen? But it actually looked pretty decent. So I'm excited to actually see what a 4K projector looks like. I have not set that up yet. Yeah, I just gotta do it. Just gotta do it. Oh. I want to readjust my projection screen as well, though. It's kind of crooked. And the brackets, the brackets that you hang the projection screen on came with these. What do you call them? Oh shoot, what do you call them? Wall anchors, I think. And the wall anchors have these hooks on them. So once the anchors go into the drywall, the hooks come out and prevent the anchor from coming out. The thing is, I think our drywall is too thin, so the anchors actually come out a little. So then the brackets are sort of tilting. So I wanted to get different drywall anchors that won't do that, and then also readjust the brackets because I didn't do a good job at actually drilling in the brackets straight. I think what I had done was I drilled one side of the brackets and then attached the projector screen onto that bracket, and then attached the loose bracket to the other side of the projector screen, and I lifted it up and I put a level on the projector screen itself on the top of it. I kind of looked at it, make sure that it was level, and then put the bracket up where I thought it's supposed to go, based on the level showing that the screen was level. And I marked it, ended up drilling it in, setting it up, and it was like, nope, not perfect. It was pretty imperfect. But I was able to loosen the screws on one side of the projector enough to level it for the most part. But I think it's not quite. So I just want to readjust that as well. But just kind of starting that project is like, I just don't feel like it, so it's like I keep putting it off. But then it's like at the same time, I kind of want to be able to watch movies again on the big screen. So that's something I got to do as well. And I can start having people over and have movie nights, and we can all watch the movies that I haven't even seen, even though I own them. Oh man, I just realized I was talking earlier about buying a lot of movies and TV shows that are culturally relevant. So one thing I purchased is a lot of the Universal horror movies. They release them in collections, so you have like all the Dracula movies and the Frankenstein movies, the Mummy movies, um, and they all release them in their own collection for each character. Funny is that you actually have some crossover, some duplication, because I think you had like Dracula meets Frankenstein or something like that. So then you have Dracula meets Frankenstein in the Dracula set, and you also have it in the Frankenstein set. Um, Something like that. I don't know if there's actually a movie where it's Dracula meets Frankenstein. I'm sure any movie buffs watching this are just like cringing, but you get the idea. So you buy all the separate sets, you get some duplicates. And what's funny is that after they released all the sets, they released it as one big box set, so you can get the whole Universal collection. But really, it's just repackaging of all the sets. So what you end up getting is um, just everything you would have bought if you bought it separately, plus a box to put it in. And so you end up buying a bunch of duplicates. So I think some people, they had bought each individual set, and then they're like, oh, but now the full set is coming out. Maybe I'll buy that and then just sell my individual sets. And then they realize, oh, it's basically the same thing, just with a box to put everything in. So they're like, forget it. So I think, yeah. So I collected those. So you have like, yeah, the black, this is the Universal. This is like when you had this is like one of the first, I think, like cinematic universes, right? Um, so you have Dracula, Frankenstein. Um, you have what, like, who are these actors? Bela Lugosi, Boris Karloff, and others. That's this era. So I bought a lot of those because I know these were relevant. These are relevant to this is culturally significant, right, to film. So I wanted to get those, even though I don't think I've actually seen any of them. But I look forward to actually watching it. I got a bunch of silent films. I got all like a bunch of the Charlie Chaplin silent films from the Criterion Collection. I bought like a Buster Keaton box set. Um, I haven't really seen too many silent films, but it's just like, again, culturally relevant. That's how films were in the beginning, and the ones that I've seen, I actually do kind of like. So it's like, I want to get these. So I end up getting them, even though I've been seeing them. And usually, I haven't regretted buying anything. The thing is, I can sell them anyway if I need to. Try not to worry too much about regretting it. So, yeah.